Hi Taurus, this is your July 24 soul story. If you've got sun, rising or moon in the sign, I hope these messages are going to help you as you make your way through the next few weeks. It's Romy. Thank you so much for joining me on the channel. We open up with the energy of the Hanged Man, and he's not showing up to impede your progress. Far from it. I think that your priorities are shifting this month. Which means that you need to see yourself and everything differently. You may well have come full circle in regards to something, and this is I suppose a sacred pause, if you like, and it aligns itself with Neptune stationing retrograde, where we have that inward reflection over the next few weeks and months. As we strip things back, we allow something to dissolve, and sometimes that can give us a bit of a reality check, which means that we do have to make some adjustments in our perceptions of things. That can be a really important process, but at the same time one that can take a minute, I think, just to get our head wrapped around, because perhaps we're at a point where something has not gone the way we anticipated. It has not happened in the way that we expected. But that doesn't mean that there isn't still amazing feats that you've achieved, that you're not still directed clearly towards something that you desire, that you're not on track even. But I think this quality of fading is something that I pick up for you in this month of July. Now, what I hope is that the fading is coming through where something has maybe felt acutely difficult, painful, raw, and that perhaps you're coming into more of an energy of an acceptance, which means that that's going to give you a chance to have a bit of a reset and a realignment. However, if you are feeling that fading coming through in a more challenging way, perhaps the love is fading, the trust, the faith, the belief, the joy. Also, I want you to understand that, it's being replaced with something. It's perhaps clearing where some of the fog or the confusion wasn't necessarily giving you the whole picture. Now, the whole picture, you may say, is not necessarily everything I want to see right now, but it is necessary because you need to know what you're working with. And I think that clarifying position is something that you're going to be deeply appreciative of as you continue to move through the month. Now, we're going to approach the new moon in Cancer on the 5th, and it feels to me like small wins are really adding up to something special here. You've got your Ace of Water, time to nourish it, to water it, to take care of it, because I do think that something takes on a new lease of life. The water energy of Cancer can bring an awful lot of sensitivity to a situation, and that can be helpful because I think, sometimes we need to bring that to the table, in the conversations and the interactions that we're having with ourselves and others. We need to bring some diplomacy, some sensitivity and emotional empathy. Again, even if we're not walking in someone's shoes, we can still appreciate perhaps where they are and why they're saying or communicating in the way that they have chosen to at this moment in time. And I think you yourself are going to get to grips with how you feel about something, and that also makes a big difference because it will help to sort of realign or reset a strategy. You have the answer to something, Taurus, and there's really no external proof or validation needed. Please trust it. Act upon it when the time feels right, and mostly respect it and yourself. And I think when you can get to the place of just realization that that is the truth, that you absolutely have what you need within you in order to navigate or deal with any situation right now, there's going to be like a rising sense of empowerment come through. And that new moon Cancer feels quite significant. It's almost like you give yourself a break, and, you come to a place of just honoring how you have gone through something and where that's brought you to. Now, we've got 8 of Water here, so there's a lot of water energy understandably moving through this first part of the month. But there's a time to move on, and I think that's what's really kind of calling you. You've got new beginning coming through with the Ace and fresh energy to start working with, and you want to do it in a way that feels more sustainable, more nourishing, more enriching to you. But we can't be in two places at once. We can't have our heart and our mind split so powerfully. So where will you take the leap? Where will you give yourself the chance to say, I'm all in? And especially if it's coming from a deep compassion to want to do right by, your own body, mind and soul, your sense of balance and your well-being, then it's going to make the decision to move on or to let go of something that much easier. Again, this stripping back, dissolving, fading energy that Neptune brings through does sometimes leave us in a little bit of a moment where we're like, okay, what now? Yeah, this has not worked out the way I expected, so where does this leave me? Well, actually, it leaves you in a place where there's a lot more possibilities and opportunities, because perhaps now you're not so fixed in looking at something and saying, well, it has to be this way. If all of a sudden the universe is saying it cannot be that way, then you're like more open in a strange way, more receptive. So give yourself a moment, because even if you feel in that first week or two like something is incredibly frustrating, or you feel like you've come, full circle and gone back to the beginning, it isn't the case. Like, I just don't see that as being the reality of something. Your priorities are shifting, and you're just going to have to take the time that is afforded to you specifically in July and not rush something, to make sure that you feel its significance as much as you are thinking about it and contemplating. It's like your physical body has to kind of line up with it as well. Now, the asteroid goddess Pallas Athena is stationing direct in Scorpio on the 9th, and it's that moment, literally, there we go, Fortune's Wheel of Fortune, it's that moment that everything starts to turn, okay? So if you have a bit of a strange experience in the first 8 or 9 days, like, just kind of hold on, allow that energy to settle a little bit, and bring this wisdom through from Pallas Athena, because she's opening doors for you, and therefore we can then bring a new type of focus and intention. And remember, Scorpio really holds space for us to allow a very transformative, metamorphic experience to happen. So it's almost like, even if something comes to an end and it feels like, I don't know where to go from here, you definitely have this rebirth experience and a strategy and a plan to go with it. And that's the key thing, right? You're Taurus, you need the practical aspect of this. Now, okay, maybe this is not all going to land or come together beautifully for you in the month of July. That said, there's enough of it to give you confidence and a sense of, okay, I know what I'm doing and where I'm going. And that brings a bit more of a peace of mind energy back through for you. Now, Wheel of Fortune says you will be in the right place at the right time. I don't actually feel you have to work too hard for that experience either. You've got temptation showing up here. Now, mid-month, we've got Venus moving into Leo. We've also on the 20th got Mars into Gemini. Like, these combined, like, they're incredibly flirtatious, very passionate, very charming. You might have like a really strong attraction to someone. There might be a very mutual kind of thing going on through this month. Now, maybe that's something that is maybe not quite ideal in its situation. Perhaps you're in a set of circumstances that doesn't really afford you to enjoy that experience the way that you would want to. Nonetheless, I think that you're set to have quite a powerful exchange, and one that certainly seems to have takes quite a hold of you in some way, okay? I also think you do become incredibly tempted by some sort of opportunity that comes up for you. Your body will tell you and give you a key. Remember, I'm saying you have the answer here. And, there's not an indication here to say don't go for it, okay? Because I think you've already created space, or you will be creating space with that 8 of water as you move on from something. Nonetheless, there may be hallmarks of this opportunity or experience that perhaps gives you a little bit of nervousness, that you don't want to go back into a situation where you feel very bound to something or someone, and maybe you feel there's some restrictions or sanctions around it that are not ideal. So there's a little bit of inner conflict, I feel, is surfacing within you in regards to something. You know, you maybe feel like, I want to do this, but I don't know, there's something here that on paper might look good, but I'm just wondering if I'm going to end up in a situation that isn't for my best and highest self if I really go for it and go all in with it. Remember, I always say, like, the devil is our greatest teacher, and what you're reflecting upon, what you're being directed towards, as a lot of the planets are more stationing retrograde now, is, you know, the growth that also helps you to free yourself and be more liberated. And if that devil is showing up with anything that feels like it's putting sanctions on parts of yourself in your life where you've worked really hard to assert and to find the sovereignty, the freedom, the healing and the movement forward, then absolutely that's going to be a red flag for you. But I think it's showing up in a number of different ways, and there's definitely some strong spark or powerful attraction to somebody, okay? And I think, interestingly, they have come in at a time to, I don't know, maybe there's a little bit of a test there as to how strong something else is in your life, or how much you really think you want something. But it will be very illuminating if you can kind of take on a somewhat of observer role as you watch some of these things play out for you through the month. Now, we're going to come, of course, to the second full moon in Capricorn, arriving on the 21st. First one happened back in solstice in June 21st. Seven of Earth here. Now, what was revealed, what came to be understood by you at that time, toward the end of June, now has a second chance. The next unfolding, if you like, bringing a powerful conclusion. Remember, the full moon wants us to recognize, release and reveal things, and it brings a closing chapter. And you've maybe been pinned in between, you know, some sort of experience, not quite able to fully resolve it because you didn't have all the information. You know, there was this second moon needed in order to kind of really bring that understanding fully into your conscious awareness. Now, the Seven of Earth tells me that there is also opportunity connected to work, to career, to something that you've been working on. And remember, you know, you may have felt for some time, nothing's happening, there's no fruits of my labor showing up, there's no reward. And, you know, the Seven invites us to wait. There is a time for everything, and the harvest time is coming. And so perhaps that full moon acts as a trigger to suddenly kind of open a gate, and something starts to show up in a more meaningful way. But interestingly, by the time it does, I think there's a part of you that's going to question, do I still want this? Is this still really working for me? If I look at this idea and think about myself still being aligned with it in the next 2 years or 5 years, does that feel good? I think the devil's going to be asking a lot of questions of you in that type of vein. Nonetheless, I do think there's a groundedness that comes in with that full moon Capricorn that helps you to reconcile something within yourself, and particularly where you're focused upon the achievement, the attainment, the movement forward in your goals. Remember, the devil can be single focused and actually incredibly helpful if you're really wanting to make your mark in the world with something, you know, especially if you have high abundance aspirations along with that full moon. Seven of Earth, Fortune's wheel, like, this is quite significant for those of you that have that very much in your mind and in, you know, setting your sights on something. I think July could be quite a powerful time to show you something that's going to be beneficial. Now, at the end of the month, you know, as the sun has shifted into Leo, we're also going to see Chiron stationing retrograde in Aries on the 26th. The day before it, Mercury goes into Virgo. Little bit of a sensitive in terms of being overly harsh and critical towards ourselves and others gets sparked up at that time. And, you know, again, I think it's worth remembering that, you know, things will be highlighted to you that you feel like you'd healed and moved on from, and now you're kind of back in the throes, it's back under the spotlight. but you will cast a critical eye over something, and you'll communicate with more discernment, awareness and understanding. Remember, the Virgo energy can also be deeply healing when we allow that process of sort of methodically working through something in our mind, and really, I think, perhaps remembering how far you've come as well. I think that's going to be very important to help, again, ensure that you don't get sort of caught up or bound up with some of that devil energy, feeling like you haven't got where you wanted to be, and then sort of, I don't know, it's almost like you start to unpick all of the hard work or the progress that you've made in regards to something. I think this Leo energy that's arriving, of course lighting up your 4th house, does bring the focus and the intention back to what's going on in and around the home. The roles that you are taking on, perhaps in the parenting, the way that you need to kind of coach and champion yourself, perhaps where wounds are being activated, divine mother, divine father energy, all of this kind of gets explored for you through Leo season. But remember, as we talked about, as your priorities are shifting and changing, so too are the roles that you are playing, and the roles that you feel you need to play moving forward. So there's some sort of adjustment that needs to happen. But if you haven't taken care of your own inner child wound, then that's going to be coming up and impacting your capacity to be able to be the role that you need to be in your own life at this moment. So there's going to be a lot of that awareness coming through for you through July and into August. I sense for you this month though, Taurus, something lands in a really powerful way, and it's almost like once you hear it or you feel it or you sense it, it's like there's no going back. I think that's what that 8 of Water is about. There's no going back with this. It's like, okay, now I know this, or everything has changed, or this has now faded and I've seen the reality. It's like, okay, what do I do with this? And so there is a sort of deep questioning and conversation that you're having with yourself. You may not even be at the stage where you're ready to necessarily share that with anyone else. You really have to figure out how you feel first and foremost. You will though, and I think that important expression of sort of where you're at or what you're thinking will come more likely toward the end of the month, because there'll be more context and there'll be a deeper sense from you as to what you want to do and why you want to do it, and that's going to give you some strength, especially if people are a little bit resistant or come back with some questioning of sort of why now, but you're going to know the reason as to why now, because everything's changed for you on some level. Now, if you're new to the channel, our last 3 cards are unearthed in my extended readings. So we talk for another 30 minutes or so. We'll look at a personal question for you, got another Wheel of Fortune there, and also relationship cards. So I hope you'll join me. It's a way to support the channel so that I can keep showing up to do all the free readings. So thank you for your investment and support. 8 of Swords, 10 of Swords, 3 of Swords. Wow, okay. 8 of Water, 4 of Swords. Right, what about this Wheel of Fortune? Knight of Pentacles, Strength, 7 of Cups. You've got a real range across the elements this month. Chariot. Okay. So if you're new to the channel, Taurus, please check out my website, romywiser.com. You're going to find over there my sacred titles, my oracle deck, my book, Ways to Work With Me, all of my sacred soul support. You'll be able to sign up to my newsletter so you can be kept informed of new services that are coming and what's going on for me later this year. Let's have a look at Life Soul Vision Oracle. So this is my own deck, Enlightened in the Exhale. We've got heart energy, gratitude and growth. I like that coming in with the Ace of Cups to manage that 3 and 8 and 10 of Swords. We'll see what's going on with that. Throat energy, we have crown energy, a lot of chakras showing up for you. Look, wow, interesting. All the decks I use are always listed below as well in the comment section, Taurus. Okay, we're going to just pull one more oracle for you for the month of July. Let's take a look. we have the energy of animals. Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here. I look forward to continuing this conversation. You have a great month of July, and I'm going to see you soon. Bye for now.